Welcome in a new LWCAD tutorial about wooden structures. My name is Viktor Velichko, and in this tutorial I will show you how easily you can create an object like this with the latest LWCAD 5.2. As a first step, we need to create simplified objects of the wall and roof. First, the wall tool. I will set in a snap panel UCS grid snapping, so I can create the wall easier, and I will draw it 7 meters to 14 meters, simple wall object, aligned it into left, so it will be offset inside, disabling grid snapping to light wave back, and easiest way to create roof is using rectangle roof tool. Just draw the roof on the top of the wall object. Now the size of the roof is fitting the wall, base wall, and we will change side slope to 25 degrees. And we need to do some overlap on the sides of the wall. So easiest way is to change a base mode to center. Now the pivot is the center. So when we add 1 meter to width and 1 meter to height, the roof tool is automatically have offset to each side a ½ meter. So this is what we needed. And before we continue with editing roof object, I recommend to select only roof polygons, so any operation we do will affect only the roof. So select one polygon and use the connected command. This is LightWave command in selection tab, and that will select other connected polygons. Next time I will use the shortcut for this command. When roof is selected, we can add additional roof part from the side, and I will set ruler snapping so we can place it more precisely with relative mode and 8 divisions. I will enable add booleans and change alignment from left to right, and we can easily place side roof now with help of all these options. So now the side roof is placed on original roof object, and it's automatically booleaned and precisely placed. So now just disable ruler snap and we are done with roof helper object. In the second step, we create fully UV mapped wooden objects of beams and planks. So first we will create profiles in back viewport using rectangle tool. Just set the size of the profiles. First two will be beams. For wooden structure, and last one will be the plank, which we will use for covering surface. So it will be size of, let's say, 5 or less. Okay, now the last one, this plank profile, we will round the edges, visible edges. So here select these two corners, use chamfer and add, let's say, 10 millimeters round. Select all three profiles, and with use of extrude tool we can extrude profiles into length of the building. Now we have polygonal objects, and we need to apply UV map and surface on this. Before we start UV mapping, we need to set active UV map. Active UV map can be set on the right down corner of a modeler window. Here you need to set texture mapping and set active UV map. I will use UV map 1. If you don't have any UV map here in this list, create new empty with this new option. So use UV map 1, create a new surface with change surface command, lightwave command here on the bottom of modeler, and name it as a wood. Open surface editor, set wood surface as active, and set color texture mapping here with this T button. In color texture mapping we need to switch projection to UV, set active UV map to 1, and set image for mapping. I will load a new texture, this wood, seamless wood texture, and use it. Close the panel, and now we are ready to start UV mapping. Easiest way how to map this object is to use a quad UV mapper. Just click on starting polygon, use real world size mapping option, and set U and V size. For this texture, U size is about 1.2 meter, V size is about 0.6 meter. We can check visually on the object, and texture seems to be mapped correctly. So now just finish wrapping by clicking on OpenGL button, and do the same on second object and third object the same. And finally put UV map also on these ends. So we need to first select them. And use rectangle UV tool with same real world size mapping. Beam objects are now fully textured, fully UV mapped, and they're prepared for next step. As a third step, we are going to create a realistically looking wooden framework object. We will use only these three already mapped wooden objects, and we set the helper object of building into background viewport, and we will use only basic clone tools, move snap and box tool for cutting. We start with creating main beam structure, so select the beam, and with use of move snap we move it on the building with holding shift key. Holding shift key will trigger move snap into clone tool, so we can immediately clone it. Now put it into right position also vertically, so again move snap. Now we need to set another clone of this beam, again with move snap. So now I will go along the slope of the roof, again with holding shift key, so we can clone this beam, and we create the second beam. Now use mirror snap with clone mode and put the beams on the other side. For next cloning, we use a line clone tool, select beam object again, and in line clone tool, most important option is set proper port axis. If we set port axis to Y, it means that our source object is lying on the top viewport. So Y-axis is up from the source object, and destination placement depends on which UCS or viewport we use. So when I click on this wall here in perspective viewport, first click defines automatic UCS lying on this wall, and the final placement of the cloning is now on this wall. We set cloning spacing from pivot to bound and set line cloning from one corner of the wall to another, and we set the count to 7. And as we can see, the beam is cloned on the wall, so we need to put this inside the wall. So we just change the pivot offset from 0% to 100%, which moves the beam into proper position. And same procedure now, very quickly we can repeat on any other wall. So we can clone very quickly once we set the cloning tool. For finishing these vertical beams, we use a box tool with subtract mode boolean, and this will cut the parts of the beams we don't need. Don't forget to keep UV mapping on with the same values as we did for creation of these beams, and use same wood surface. Next cloning operation will be with a second beam object. So we select it, and again using line clone tool, we create clones on the surface, roof surface. So here we set a same spacing to bound, priority count, and set a 13 clones. And we just need to go to back viewport and set the final offset along the source Z axis, so it will lie on the framework in proper position. And we finish the beams with box tool, so we cut also these overlapping beams, and finally using mirror snap again we make a clones to other side of the roof. Now we need to finish this side roof part, which is a little bit more complicated. So we need to cut these overlapping beams, these 5 beams, so we select them, and we need to cut them from the side roof part with box tool. And for box tool we use a rotate mode, and first click must be on this side roof polygon, so we will be on the proper plane. And now just cut the beams as we need. Also, second side, proper click to side roof, which is in background viewport, and from the starting point to this point, and now just select these remaining parts and delete. So select polygon, select connect it and delete. This is a little bit more delicate operations. To continue with this side roof, it is better to move to another empty layer. Select roof beam object, copy and paste into another empty layer where we will continue. We need also set a background viewport previous cloned object and also our helper object, building object, which we use for automatic UCS. We can continue with cloning on this side roof. So again with line clone tool, now clicking on this side roof, we can make a clones along the side roof with offset source pivot y-axis. We can move clone to overlap over the top of the side roof. Now we have created 5 new beams for side roof, and we need to rotate this last one on the top, which I just selected. So we use rotate snap tool, and again you need to precisely click on the side roof polygon here. So rotate snap now will work only on this side roof plane, and we move the center of rotation into this top point and align rotation along the bottom edge of the side roof. So now it fits perfectly. Select these 4 beams, and with the box tool in a rotate mode we need to cut these 4 beams with the rotated beam or down from the rotated beam. So with clicking on the top polygon of rotated beam, we create UCS plane which is lying on the top of the beam, and we can make very clean cut which is along this beam precisely. Now back in top viewport, we make a final cut with corner mode box here to cut through the center of the side roof, and select rotated beam and make also clean cut from the top of the side roof, and finally select all remaining parts and delete. With a mirror snap we can clone the second copy of side roof, and we can select and put together with all roof beams into final beam structure. Final cloning operation will be cloning the plank object on top of the roof. So copy roof top polygons into empty layer, correct them because now we are a little bit higher with the roof. So with move snap I will move these helper roof polygons on the top. Going back to layer with a framework, we need to set a new roof helper polygon as a background layer, and we need to select the plank object. It is not correctly oriented because we need this rounded part to be headed down, so I will rotate it. And use line clone tool with selected plank object and click here on this rooftop polygon and make clones. Switch spacing is correctly set to bound and switch priority to spacing. And in spacing we can set gaps, exact gap between clones. So set, let's say, 1 millimeter. And we can also use this polygon OpenGeo button, which makes booleans between clones and volume area created from selected polygon. In our case, it is the roof polygon which we created before. So with polygon area booleans, we can immediately create a final cloning of the plank on the roof surface. Same way we can create another clones, so this way we can put planks on any kind of surface really quickly. And precisely. And done. Our wooden frame object is done and it looks great, at least a geometry looks great. But when we switch to texture viewport only, we can see there is another problem with UV mapping. It is too regular, too uniform. So we need to fix it with UV random tool and set the 50% U, 50% V randomization and 20% scale. Now this looks way much better and way much more realistic. In final step 4, we create shingles for this wooden roof. So just go to empty layer, use our roof helper object as a background layer, and use shingle tool with any preset you wish. So I will use the Roman preset, click in the top viewport and shingles are done. So this was the easiest step and our wooden framework roof structure is done together with shingles.